Welcome to bringing Jesus back into focus. I'm Christopher John Joseph in Australia. Born in 1957 into the Jewish Christian Catholic Church. I left when I was 16 because they were teaching a lie. They were saying that the two Yahwehs in the Jewish religion, because everyone knows there's a stinking, filthy, genocidal war god, whom they decided to call Yahweh, as the Romans called their war god Mars, the Greeks called their war god Ares, and the Egyptians called their war god Sekhmet. And they were all murdering, genocidal, just merciless bastards. And the Jews had their merciless war god, and they loved that war god, and they had a temple for that war god, the temple of Yahweh. The Romans had a god of peace, and the Egyptians had another god that calmed you down, and the Greeks had their god of peace, Irene. But the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Romans were honest. They built a separate temple, because that's a different life force, totally different. If you're children of the god of Pax, you don't go with your army and kill everyone across the river, murder them all, take all their treasure back to your temple and steal the land. If you go to the temple of Pax, you've got to go across the river and say, look, we decided we'll share this river. We don't want to fight over it. And we'll share this land by the river. We want to be at peace with you. We're children of peace. Now that's a different God. Your nature changes, your characteristic, your disposition. You're more spiritual, of course, with a peaceful God from any era of humanity. Now the Jews had a peaceful God too. And it actually says in Leviticus, this is the other God, this is the second God that they worship. If a foreigner is amongst you, treat them as if they are a native, a Jew, and love them as if they were Jewish. That means if a Palestinian is living amongst you, treat them as if they're Jewish, and love them as if they're Jewish. So you can see there's a big problem with the Jewish religion. They've got this dichotomy happening, this opposing forces. Go and steal, kill them all and steal their land, the West Bank, of what they're doing, and obliterating Gaza. Just to try to steal that as well. They tried to steal it, but they're stealing the land on the West Bank, and the whole world is looking on and not lifting a finger to stop them. Well, that's Jericho all over again. And they're literally saying, well, Yahweh's going to give us that land back. Well, no war god gives you anything. You have to go and murder and kill and steal. You're just a murderer. So this is the problem. Now, that's been poisoning the Christian religion because in the 4th century, Constantine killed in the name of Jesus. So he could become emperor. And he said he got a sign from Jesus and the God of Jesus to win the war. So he became emperor. And within a year, he stopped persecuting Christians. So no Christians were thrown to the lions, etc. Up until then, every single Christian in the world was a pacifist because they all knew they had a spiritual body that doesn't die. Now, within about 50 years, the corrupt Christian leaders caved in, and Roman soldiers who were becoming Christian could go to war and kill and still be Christian, a follower of the pacifist way of Jesus. That's when the really big corruption came in, that the Christian religion was no longer a pacifist religion, a spiritual way to heaven. You can't get into heaven if you're violently killing people. You've got to go to another place to suffer the consequences of what you caused. So that was the first really big corruption that came in. Then there's a lot of poisonings going on in the Gospels about apocalyptic stuff. And the Jews got that from the Zoroastrians. It's the book of Daniel. It's not even sort of coming out of their belief system. They borrowed it. And then someone's dumped Jesus and the loving creator in it in the middle of the book called the book of Revelation. I just call it the Revelation Ruse, or the most slanderous article ever written about Jesus and the loving spiritual creator he was at one with in the world. That is the most slanderous document, just putrid. What they say Jesus does there and the loving creator of Jesus is stinking filth. And yet all the Jewish Christian churches have got it right there at the end of the Gospels, slandering everything Jesus was, who he was, who the true God, the true loving creator is. And they've got it there. That is the book of Daniel. It's an old Jewish book. And a clever Jew put it in there, an undercover agent, an apocalyptic Jew, to destroy your connection to the loving creator in heaven, to destroy your connection to heaven, and to destroy Jesus' image. In that book, he's Satan on the clouds. They've painted him as Satan. And the God is the Yahweh war God. That's what war gods do. You don't do what the war god says, the war god kills you. That's what Yahweh, the war god, does all through their religion. That's what Adolf Hitler does, a war god. You don't do what he does, he kills you. You don't do what Putin says, a little war god, he kills you. What does Yahweh the war god do? He kills you. What does Yahweh do? Just revenge, kill, murder, slaughter, dominate. That's not the God of Jesus. What happens if you do the wrong thing with this beautiful, loving God of Jesus? They try to bring you back. They try to save you. They try to help you come out of sin, come out of darkness. They are the light. They are love. They love you. They try to love you out of the darkness. Totally different God. Totally different concept. Totally different world and universe. Different structure, different substance. Jesus says you've got a spiritual body that's going to leave when your physical body dies. So as a Christian, because I'm not a Jewish Christian, I can talk about these things quite easily because I was never poisoned by the Jewish religion. And so I didn't realise I'd have to do this later on in my life because I just left the Jewish Christian Catholic Church when I was 16, studied Buddha's teaching because he was a pacifist, and I knew Jesus was a pacifist. Why aren't they teaching that? Because they're lying. They're Jews, with Jesus as an addition. So the book's been written, and it's, yes, it's right here. So that's the Gospels of Jesus Unplugged, available around the world, and that'll give you a much cleaner, clearer understanding of the Gospels. They are the Gospels. I had a bit of commentary, but I've removed all the poisonous Jewish overlays, the apocalyptic stuff, and I've corrected very, very bad Greek translations. So you've got a much cleaner, clearer, focused understanding of his main core message, that you have to become spiritually alive now in love and non-violence, so that you leave at death to go to another more beautiful world of love and non-violence. And the only way to get into that world of love and non-violence, guess how you get in? You have to be love and non-violence now in a dangerous world of violence. And there's the challenge that Jesus gave everybody. But he said, don't worry about anyone who can kill your body of flesh, because they can't do anything else to you. And if you're spiritual, you're just going to leave anyway. Whether your body dies of old age or a disease or someone kills you, murders you, and the satanic warmongers kill you. It doesn't matter. Your spiritual body, he says, what's really important. Your body of flesh is going to die anyway. But your spiritual body, if you're covered in murder and filth and stink, like all these satanic armies at the moment, they can't enter heaven and they will suffer. They'll be screaming. Putin and Netanyahu and all these other people, they'll be screaming and frightened out of their wits. They'll be alone in pitch black darkness, no physical body, no army to do their bidding. And they'll be reliving every single death they caused. They'll experience it. They don't know what they're heading into. They will be in hell. A hell of their own making. All we can do is warn them. So I've written this gospel book so that children who are interested in Jesus can have a much clearer and more beautiful understanding of what he's really saying. For example, his words save us. Well, there's 17 times in the gospel where Jesus says that. He doesn't say 17 times his blood will save you. He doesn't say that. His blood on the cross was about, he let his body of flesh die and he left in his beautiful spiritual body, which he said, you've got inside you too. Wake up. Bring those dead to the spirit back to life. So that's what it's all about. It's about becoming spiritual. And that's what Jesus taught. And he said, don't worry about the flesh too much. Look after it. But whatever you do, don't become a dark shadow figure and then use your body of flesh to kill other children. Then you're in big, big trouble. You're going to be really sorry after your body of flesh dies that you've done that, because you will suffer. Those deaths that you caused, they will be your deaths. That's what you caused. See, the loving spiritual creator in Jesus, same as Buddha, you just receive back what you created. So we are creating our next life, you might say right now, by loving, caring and forgiving and being peaceful. So we're creating a loving, caring, peaceful life in a world that's loving and peaceful, and that's where we'll go. These children who are murdering and killing and blowing little babies' bodies apart and blowing the legs off women with their bombs and clever drones and bullets and things, they're not going anywhere near heaven. They're going into an horrific suffering that they themselves created, like murdering and killing other children. That's all we can do is warn them. If they don't want to believe that, all we can do is say, well, you'll understand when you're there. It'll be too late. Put down your guns and go home. Love your family and love your neighbour. So let's make our way to heaven, shall we? Mark chapter 11. Mark. All of the important sayings in Mark that are repetitions found in Matthew have been combined with the Matthew sayings in the previous chapter. Other sayings from Mark have been placed in the appropriate early chapters regarding specific topics. The following are those sayings not mentioned in Matthew or earlier. You have to remember Matthew and Luke copied virtually all of Mark, and then they both added some extra letters they had and extra accounts and things they had. You've got to remember these are all sort of floating around, and they sort of brought them all together. And they had different collections, but they both copied Mark. Crowds, so this is very short because there aren't many things they didn't copy. Crowds followed Jesus. Mark 3:7-12. Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the sea, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him, and from Judea and Jerusalem and Idumea and beyond the Jordan, and those from Tyre and Sidon, when they heard how many great works he was doing, and came to see him. So he told his disciples that a small boat should be kept ready for him because of the multitude, lest they should crush him. For he healed many, so that as many that had afflictions pressed about him to touch him. And the unclean spirits, whenever they saw him, fell down before him and cried out, saying, "You are a spiritual child of the loving spiritual Creator." But he sternly warned them that they should not make him known. Author. As Jesus became well known, he faced the problem of being mobbed by people, so they may be healed. We often see that he retreated into the countryside with the disciples to get a break from the demanding crowds and to be closer to our loving Creator without being disturbed. Today we should also leave the busy cities and go out to nature to find a peaceful place to contemplate our spiritual life and become closer to our loving spiritual Creator in heaven. Some may call this praying, while others call it meditation or contemplation on heavenly existence. It is a good practice to do whenever you have the chance. I always recommend to get out of the big cities. Go to nature, where Jesus and Buddha both went. They both went out to nature. That's where you have this ability to unlock yourself from what's called the collective consciousness, the TV, the mobile phones, Facebook. Get away from all of that. Just be yourself for a little while. And think about another world that's heavenly. It's spiritual. How do I get there? Are you being full of love in your life? Think about these things out in the countryside, then come back into the towns and cities. The growing seed. I personally say you should stay there, but the growing seed. I'm too ill to leave Melbourne, otherwise I'd leave. Mark 4:26-29. Jesus said, "The heavenly spiritual world is like a man who scatters seed on the soil and sleeps by night and rises by day, while the seed sprouts and grows, but he himself knows not how. For the earth yields crops by itself, first the blade, then the head, and after that the full grain in the head. But when the grain ripens, immediately he puts in the sickle, for the crop is ready to harvest." Author. Spiritual awakening occurs in stages after hearing the spiritual words or seeds planted in our earthly minds. And as they grow, they begin to provide all the necessary foundations and building blocks for us to build our spiritual home, until finally they culminate in transforming our earthly identity into our spiritual identity. That's harvesting the fullness of the grain. You finally ripened. The Buddhists have a lovely saying, you've got to ripen. You've got to awaken, you've got to ripen, become spiritually ripened. Nice thing, nice term. Then we will also be awakened spiritual children of our loving spiritual Creator, just as Jesus was, and ready to leave our dead body of flesh behind and enter into the eternal heavenly spiritual world beyond all suffering. So it's even Jesus and Buddha, they both didn't start teaching till around the time they were 30. It took Jesus time to understand what he was growing into and to become fully enlightened. He wasn't born fully enlightened. He had to overcome temptation. It's written in the Gospels. Buddha had to overcome temptation. It's written in the Buddhist tradition. They had the same journey. Instead of being materialistic and flesh, they ended up becoming spiritual, or I'm not sure what the Buddhists would say. They don't like the terminology spiritual, but it's good enough. I'm sure they'd agree. It's pretty much sums it up. They became singular, at one with love. They became pacifists. Their minds were undisturbed by evil. That's what happens. That's the enlightenment. That's the real mind, undisturbed by any evil. It's not dualistic anymore. It's singular. Buddha and Jesus then had what's called the clear light mind experience. It's clear light mind because there's no dirt there interfering with the clear light. That's what it means. Your mind is just full of love. I'm trying to become that because Jesus and Buddha taught that, and I love their teachings. But like everyone, I have challenges. So but the thing is, you try. And you can become more loving and more caring and more generous. You can, and more forgiving. You have to do it, though. You've got to apply yourself. If you're naturally that way, well, maintain it. Don't let it slip away. Whatever strengths you have, maintain. Whatever weaknesses you have, strengthen them. And everything will become strong. And you'll be a fully awakened spiritual child, hopefully before your body of flesh dies and returns to the earth. And you'll leave in a fully awoken spiritual body and mind of caring and loving and forgiving and non-violence. Then you can enter the next more beautiful, higher world, heaven. So there we go, the growing seed. So it takes time to bear that, to ripen is the sort of nice terminology. The mango's green, then it eventually ripens and turns golden, sort of red, pink colour when it's sweet and ripened. Man cast out demons in Jesus' name. Mark 9:38-40. John said to Jesus, "Teacher, we saw someone who was not with us casting out demons in your name, and we ordered him to stop because he is not one of us." Jesus said, "Do not forbid him, for no one who works a miracle in my name can suddenly speak evil of me. For he who is not against you is for you. And whoever gives you even a cup of water to drink in my name, because you follow me, I say to you, there is no way that he will lose his reward." Author. Already the disciples were beginning to be exclusive in their treatment of other followers of Jesus, just like the Jews, who thought wrongly that they were the only children on earth who knew who God was, making them the only children of their two-headed, distorted God, Yahweh. It's exclusive. They're already starting to become exclusive. They're already destroying his main message. This is universal. Jesus has to guide the disciples out of that thinking to see the universal understanding of what he was really teaching them. We are all potential spiritual children of love and non-violence of our loving spiritual creator in the heavenly spiritual world if we just follow his way and teachings and awaken into our true spiritual identity. The choice is ours to accept our spiritual life or reject it. That's what it's all about. If you're spiritual, you'll be like Jesus. If you choose to not be spiritual, okay, but you can still lead a life of caring and loving and being honest and good. But without knowing it, you're already sort of spiritual, because they're the characteristics of being spiritual, you see. So you're already living out of a spiritual body without knowing it. That's what most people are doing nowadays in the secular world. But then there are children who have figments of their own imagination, ego, and they become dark satanic figures. Murder, kill, rob, etc. Well, they're really lost in the darkness. That's why you need a spiritual teacher to make sure you don't fall into that trap and go into the hellish burning, screaming after you die, which all the warmongers go into that experience, unfortunately for them, until they're cleansed. Forgive before praying. Mark 11:25-26. Jesus said, "And whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive them and pray for them, so your loving spiritual creator in the heavenly spiritual world can also forgive you your wrongdoings." Now, Jesus has said that many times in the Gospels. You must be able to forgive, even when they've hurt you, wrongly, robbed you. I had an osteopath just really damaged my neck seriously. He led me on for 2 years. I put a claim in and then he lied. He committed criminal fraud. And I couldn't get any compensation for the damage and the pain that he caused. And I forgive him. It really has affected my life. But he decided to be a criminal. Now that's his decision. I forgive him. I pray for him. But he's not coming out of the darkness. So you can't do anything for these people who hurt you in life and who refuse to stop or repent, and that sort of thing. So we've got problems when children hurt us. We want to be angry and seek revenge. It's one thing to seek legal justice. That's just, a normal thing. But you must forgive them for what they did to you. Jesus says it over and over and over. What that does, by forgiving, for example, this osteopath, for example, then love flows through me to him. He's in the dark. He's going to suffer what he did to me after he dies, unless he repents. So there's nothing, I don't have to hurt him or anything. I just feel sorry for him because he's heading into the darkness after he dies. And he'll suffer the sort of pain and things that have happened to me from what he's done. And he robbed me as well. He prevented me from receiving just compensation. So we forgive. And then what happens is my love flows through me even to the enemy, you might say, the one who really hurt me and robbed me of compensation. So that person's an enemy, someone who does that. And he did it deliberately and very calculatingly. So really quite evil. But anyway, so I feel sorry for him. So feeling sorry for him is sort of compassion and love towards him. So it doesn't block love coming into me from heaven, because I send my love to him and hope his conscience will get the better of him one day. He'll wake up and he'll contact me and apologise for the way he treated me, and even provide me with compensation for all the various treatments I had to have done after he damaged me. And the pain and suffering, well, you can't put a number on that. But I pray he does that before he dies. But then that's it. I leave him in the hands of the loving Creator, because the loving Creator knows what he's done. He can't escape that. He thinks he's covered it up. Everything that is covered will be revealed, says Jesus. That's what children don't understand. Once your body's dead, you're naked in the presence of the loving spiritual Creator. That is, everything is known. You're there in a place where everyone knows, or the loving Creator knows everything about you. And that's the problem, you see. Well, it's not a problem if you're good and well, or if you've sinned but you've said sorry. So Jesus is constantly saying, say forgive, forgive, forgive. So if you have anything against anyone, forgive them. Because we ourselves have either deliberately or inadvertently hurt others. And if we haven't said sorry to them, which we should, we have to at least ask the loving Creator to forgive us. Perhaps we can't see that person anymore. Perhaps they've died. Perhaps it's too late to say sorry. So we have to go to the loving source of our spiritual life and say, oh, I'm sorry. I did that. I remember when I did that when I was younger. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry I did that. So we acknowledge our wrongs now. Forgive. Anyone who's hurt you, forgive them. Anything you've done to hurt others, ask for forgiveness. So give forgiveness and you'll receive forgiveness. It's, again, karma. As you give, what measure you give out, you'll receive back. Widow's two mites, Mark 12, 41, 44. Now Jesus was sitting opposite the temple treasury and watched how people were putting money into the treasury. And many who were rich put in much. Then one poor widow came and threw in 2 small coins, which was only worth 1/4 of a copper coin. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, truly I say to you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who gave to the treasury. For they all put in out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, put in all that she had, her whole livelihood. So everything's relative in this world. Heaven is a spiritual world. What spiritual riches do you have? You can have all the money in the world, a billionaire. But if you're devoid of spiritual love in your spiritual body, you're not strong enough to enter heaven. You're not alive enough. You'll have to undergo some cleansing. Author, the materially rich seemed to put in more, but still kept plenty for themselves. But the poor woman put in all the material wealth she had as an offering to their God. She trusted her whole life to their God, while the rich hung on to the material security. As spiritual children, we must always remember heaven is a real world, but it is spiritual, not material. It is spiritual, not material. But when you're there, it'll seem like it's real, and there's no other reality. I hope, anyway. I can't say I've been there or seen it. I don't claim that. But my understanding from what Jesus and Buddha said, you will be there. But it's not like this place. It's more beautiful, but it's spiritual. There's no death and suffering. It is the richness of our spirits that matters at the end of our journey, not how much money we leave behind in the bank. The bulk of Mark's Gospel has already been presented in the Matthew chapter. Theological scholars tend to agree that Matthew and Luke copied most of Mark into their own Gospels and then placed in their own extra accounts. Our loving spiritual Creator is only love. We must become as spiritual children of only love on earth. Now that is absolutely, so that's all that's left over of Mark that wasn't in Matthew. So you think, gee, that was short. He left out a lot, but all the rest of it is in Matthew. We've already gone over it in the other episodes. I just haven't doubled up. There's no point. There's no need to. So again, Jesus is just constantly saying you've got two bodies. That's the first lie that all the Jewish Christian churches are saying. They're saying your dead body of flesh, blood and bones that disintegrates, disappears into the earth. They say it's going to miraculously come back together somehow at the end of the apocalypse time. That's all Jewish stuff. The book of Daniel. They shouldn't be saying that. They shouldn't be teaching that. They're taking away the focus on how to get to heaven. You're waiting. There's no point waiting for that to happen. You have to get ready now to die. And you're going to die. Are you ready to die? That's what Jesus kept saying. Are you ready? The 10 maidens who had the lanterns burning brightly until they died. But there were others that ran out of oil. Their lanterns were going out. They weren't spiritually ready to die. They had to go and get more oil. They had to go and love more. They didn't have enough love. Their spiritual body wasn't alive enough. But the maidens who had the lights burning brightly, the light, children of the light, spiritual body of light, they entered heaven to be with the bridegroom, which is another way of saying they went to heaven where Jesus is. That's all. It's all about being ready to leave. Being ready to leave. There's the wonderful parable of the chappie who had the farm, and he had a massive crop of olives and everything he needed. And he couldn't fit it in his barns, so he built more barns, and he had a massive store of these foods and grains for his earthly body. And he says, well, soul, take a break, soul. Take it easy, drink and be merry. I've got so much now, I don't have to worry for a few years. And then Jesus says, that night he dies. He wasn't getting ready to go to heaven. He was suddenly switching to be material, body of the flesh. Let's just have some pleasures for a while, forget about heaven. The message is you never forget about the fact that your spiritual body's going to leave. Make sure today you've lived a spiritual life. You've forgiven those who have hurt you. You haven't lost your temper. You've been generous. You've seen people on the street, homeless. You've gone over and offered them some food or drink, never money, because there are always big substance abuse problems with the homeless. I never offer money, just food or drink or companionship over chat. Get to know them, acknowledge them. What's your name? I'm Christopher. How you going? That sort of thing. So we do our little bit in the vineyard, you might say, with your family first, friends, neighbours, odd person you bump into on the street, someone who falls over. When you're up the street, you go over and help them. Others, not everyone goes over and helps someone who falls over in the street. You notice that? A few do, not everyone. So be one of the ones who goes over and helps. So that's your spiritual body getting stronger, stronger. That's how you exercise your spiritual body, so it's strong. And then when your body of flesh is dying, which will totally overpower your spirit completely if it's really agonizing, torturous, and if you're in just pure agony, or you're in dementia and lost in dementia, your brain mind is spinning. The brain here, this brain mind that it produces is all confused. That will end once this piece of meat here in the middle of all this meat and bone stops moving, the heart meat. That'll all end. That confusion will all end. Your spiritual body leaves. You have a different mind in the spiritual body. It's a spiritual mind of love. If you've been full of love, your lantern has been burning all your life, and you've had an excess amount of love, some extra oil, some extra love, because you've been so loving, then you'll be fine. You'll get through that it's very disorientating dying like that. You don't know where you are, who you are, where you're going. You don't know anything. You've just been swept away from this world, and everything's sort of spinning, and you've got no idea what's happening to you. well, your spirit will be there. You'll be free of all the complications or interferences of the physical body, because that's finished. It can't transmit any more experiences to you, or emotions or feelings or dreams or anything. But your spiritual body's there, and your spiritual mind is there. Then it's just a matter of, hopefully you're not covered in any dark, stinking, murdering filth like all the satanic armies of the world. So you'll just be open to receive the light of heaven and the love of heaven shining right onto you, because you're already love. And they will just welcome you into the world of love, because you yourself in your spirit lived a life of love. You were alive and well, even though your body had cancer or a fungal infection, you were dying in agony, whatever was happening to you, or a sudden accident, however it was that your life ended here in pain and suffering, which millions do, it won't be happening on the other side. When your spiritual body moves out of your body of flesh, you're automatically going to be in the presence of the spiritual dimension, because spirit goes to spirit, flesh goes to earth to earth, spirit to spirit. The only thing that matters then, and Jesus said this over and over and over, don't sin while you're here. Don't do wrongdoing. Don't do evil. But rather, move into your spiritual identity and become a loving child. Against all the challenges, turn the other cheek. Bless those who persecute you. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who are evil. There's the challenge. In an evil, dangerous world, I've got to become love and non-violence. Jesus said, yep, that's it. You've got it. That'll lead you to heaven. So I went, oh, okay. Oh, that sounds easy. He said, look, it's going to be hard, but don't worry. I've overcome the world and you can too. And follow my instructions. Follow my words. My words will save you. He said that 17 times. My words will save you. Because he has to explain to me how to become spiritual. His death on the cross and his blood spilling out of his dead body flesh does nothing for me. It won't stop me sinning. I have to stop sinning based on his words and understanding that heaven exists and how to get there. That stops me sinning. I don't want to go to any sort of burning realizations of doing bad things here because I do bad things here. Yeah, I want to be a good child. I want to be well and healthy in spirit and caring and loving, etc., forgiving. But then even go further into the pacifist tradition that Jesus originally planted in the world, as did Buddha. They're the real Christians. All the others are Jewish Christians. They'll go to war and kill and say, I'm a Christian, even wear a cross of Jesus while they're killing. It's just total hypocrisy, blasphemy, slander. He who lives by the sword will perish by the sword. So there you go. I'll leave you with that one. That's a very short chapter, Mark. But the overall general dialogue of Jesus is you've got two bodies. Only one's going to leave at death. Is it alive and filled with light and love and truth? Are you loving others, caring, forgiving? Are you more generous? Are you less greedy? Are you honest? Do you care about those who are on the street in great need? As long as you just love, just your family or neighbours or friends, you're moving out of the spirit. You're manifesting spiritual love from heaven in your spiritual body, which will return there. Will go there. I don't know about return, but it'll go there. Whether we're planted here and we haven't existed before, I don't know. Buddha and Jesus in the Thomas Gospel said we've had many images, and Buddha, of course, said you've had many lives. That's the Hindu tradition. But you're moving towards perfection. They both want you to move towards perfection. Buddha and Jesus want you to be perfect love, perfect kindness, perfect peace, perfect non-violence. They want you to perfect yourself now. Both Jesus and Buddha want that. They became perfect children of love. Pacifists. I'm a follower of Jesus, and I believe it's been badly distorted and poisoned because of the poisoning of the Jewish religion. It's the old wine mixed in with the new wine. It's happened like 1700 years ago. It's time for the Christian churches to wake up, cut the Bible in two, get rid of the Jewish religion out of the church, rip out the book of Revelation. I want Pope Leo to go on the Vatican balcony there in Rome and say, listen everyone, I'm going to rip out the book of Revelation, see? I'm tearing it up and putting it in the rubbish bin. I want all Catholics in the whole world to do the same thing today. But he hasn't got the guts to do it. And that's the problem, you see. They're perpetuating a filthy lie. That's slander. How can the Catholic Pope allow that to be anywhere near Jesus in the Gospels? But they do it. It's traditional. A traditional lie is still a lie. Love your way to heaven or hate your way to hell. It's your choice. The heavenly spiritual creator and Jesus, they don't send you to hell. They only want you to come to heaven. Become love. All you need is love. Do, 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 do. Oh, bye.